Yesterday, I put a few tips up on my blog on how to draw Pea Knuckle, and it looked like several other people were having trouble with this tangle. And since I promised you a video, here we go. I will start by just making a random space because, excuse her, I think it's harder when you have an uneven space to fill, and so we're going to start with just a random space. Okay, I find it easiest to start in the center. So, because some of you said you have trouble making your S's perfectly even, I am actually going to try to make mine less even. We'll see how that works. So I have a big one and a small one, and what I tend to do if I'm not paying attention is get them going smaller. Okay, I have my first line of S's somewhere down the middle of the space I'm trying to fill. Where you put the next one, don't worry about lining them up. Just imagine you have another row of S's, your invisible S's, next to the first one, and leave room for them, and then draw more S's. Yes, they aren't going to line up, but it'll work. Sometimes I think it's more interesting if these aren't perfect. After all, this is a Zentangle. We are not worrying about perfection. We're going to wait and see what happens. Okay, so we have two lines. I'm going to pause it right here, finish it out, and then come back. As you can see, I've made my S's, filling up the right side of my space. Now I'm going to turn it over, which is a cool thing about Zentangle because there's no up or down. Leave room for my invisible row of S's and make a few more. And when I get to the bottom, and if I don't have room for a whole S, instead of making it smaller, I just make what fits. Okay, now we have our space filled with our S's as much as fits. Alright, now the problem is I had people say they didn't know where to start when they get to this point. What I do, turn it so that your S's are laying on their sides. Oops, there's the camera. Find a spot in the middle. I'm going to use this one right here. I like to work from bottom up. Okay, now where do we draw the lines? There's several options. You can draw it from this one to that one, or from this one to that one. You want to go from the open space to the open space. Personally, I think it would look better to go to this one. So I found the easiest thing to do is start with your top, the curve of your top S, and come straight down to connect it to the lower one. And if you have your paper turned this way, you're always going to be up and down from one to the other. Okay, so now I do the opposite side and go from the right side up to the top. You have your ends, and then you can just fill in the lines in the middle. Alright, now you have your center, so then you just move down to the next open space. They're going to look like a right side up C and an upside down C. Start from your upside down C, go down the left hand side, connect. And actually it looks better if you connect it right there instead of on outside of your C, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so connect that. We have our edges done. Boom, I'll show you. Okay, what do we do when we get to the bottom? Okay, this we didn't have enough room for. We pretend like there's an S here. And then we do the same thing. Okay, it would be coming down here, draw a line here, draw a line there. Now if all of your S's are the same size, these lines are going to be perpendicular. I specifically tried to make them not the same size so we could see how they look if everything. Alright, now we're to the point where we have two S's or C's where we don't have a corresponding S on the top row because we have a odd shape. Well, I'm going to pretend it's there and just start from the right side of my uppermost C and make a line that's parallel with the one before it. Do the same over here. Fill it in. And finish like that. Alright, I will do the rest and then come back. Okay, I want to show you what happened. Because I have my S's different sizes, the lines are going to not be particularly parallel on every row. That's okay. Instead of this looking like a machine woven piece of baskets or fabric, it's going to look like it's hand done. Okay, we're getting down toward the bottom. Again, I'm going to start in the middle row. I want to line these two, this lower C and this upper C, up. So my line is going to go like that, like this. Fill it in. Alright, this one's going to be different because our S's are different sizes, which makes our C's not line up, but that's okay. Alright, last one over here doesn't match, so what I do is I just draw a line perpendicular to the most recent full tangle, or full set of parallel lines. Fill this in, and this last one is just going to have a few lines like that. Okay, at the bottom, just your open S's, or your upside down C's, whatever you want to call them. Fill them in. At the bottom, turn it over. Now it's the top, and you still have these upside down C's with no corresponding lower one, so just draw some lines like that. Okay, now we have our rather wonky first half of the tangle. Okay, the next thing I found very confusing was how do we draw the lines that are in the back. I found the easiest thing to do is, again, start in the middle. You're going to have a rectangular, sorry about that. You're going to have a somewhat rectangular space on the bottom, since we're still having our tangle turned sideways. You're going to have a dip where the two S's intersect. Right at this line, is right at this point, draw a line straight to where the above C, the end of it connects to the lines. And then you're going to have a corresponding point right here where there's another little dip. You go from that dip down to the spot where your C intersects. So it's going to end up sort of like a V. But if you remember to start at the dip and go to the edge of the C, you'll be fine. And for the second one, start at the top dip and come down at the same parallel. I'll show you again. You're going to be starting here, going up that way. Boom. Alright, I think you get the hang of that. I'm going to go finish the rest and be right back. Okay, we've come to the bottom, and clearly there is no little dip because we don't have a line of S's. So I'm just going to start from the top dip, make it somewhat parallel to the ones above it, and just make it up. You just want to have a V shape. Okay, from here, it's very easy. You're going to color in all of these white triangle shapes. When you get around the edges, it's going to be very small and somewhat wonky. I find that I think I have them all colored, and then I go to shade them, and there'll be some missing. You just might take a trip or two around, but you don't need to watch me shade these, so come back when I'm done. Okay, here we have all of our triangles completely shaded in black. Well, somewhat completely shaded. I did them kind of fast because it's just a demo. Alright, the final step to make this have some dimension is when we look at the zigzags, you'll notice that some of them are shorter than the others. They're the ones we did second. These are kind of look like they're behind the ones you did first. So just shade them like you're doing hollow bow. Put a little gentle line of pencil right beside the original lines, the first lines, and then the ones that are in the back will recede even further. As you can see, this piece I did very quickly. I was without regard to whether or not the lines were parallel. The S's were completely the same size and same shape. Oh, look, I missed a triangle. This happens. I told you. You'll notice it as you're filling in your shading. That's okay. Just fill them back in. And there you have it. It's somewhat organic. It looks like a person wove it, perhaps a beginner person, but I still think it's a beautiful tangle, and I hope this helped you. Give it a shot. It's really pretty when it's done. Thanks for watching.